If there is one thing the productivity and wellness girlies love, it is the end of the year and the start of a new one. This is really the time when I thrive. The months or the week between Christmas and the third week of January is really when I feel like I can accomplish anything in the world. Unfortunately, I do crash after that, and then I have to kind of pull myself up, give myself a reality check, and we keep moving forward. But this is the time of year when I thrive. Today, we're doing a little rapid fire 18 or 19. I think I had it said 18. 18 things that you can do to reset for the new year. This list is going to range from some things that are small, some things that are bigger, things that take 5 minutes, and then things that take a couple hours. But I just want to give you some inspiration. In next week's episode, that will be our big episode where we do a big life reset for the new year. This is going to just be starting to give you some ideas, sprinkle some ideas in your head. I know that it's still December. I'm wearing my Christmas shirt still. We're still in the midst of the holiday season, and I just want to let you know that if you feel a little overwhelmed seeing this video and you're like, whoa, it is still Christmas. I'm here with you. I'm still in the midst of celebrating Christmas as well. But I just want to have this out there and available because I do also know there have been years when I am just so ready to get on my planning and to just start resetting for the new year. And so I just wanted to have this out there. So whether you are watching this and it is still December, you are watching this live and, we're halfway through or midway through December here. Or if you're watching this and it's already the new year, you're coming back around to watch it. Welcome here. Let's chat. Hello and welcome back to Hot Mess Habits. My name is Victoria Harder. I am your host. I am a podcast host, content creator, mom, wife, business owner, and type B girly with ADHD who makes videos all about productivity and real life and how to blend productivity, wanting to achieve with actual real life responsibilities. First things first, we are going to check in with our 2024 goals. Duh, of course. I feel like you could have guessed this one, but yeah, taking some time, we're going to check in with our 2024 goals. We're going to look back at the year before us and say, okay, what happened this year? What was good? What was bad? How are we doing? Second thing is we're going to write an actual reflection on how the last year went. I feel like it's very easy to just think about things and just be like, oh yeah, look over. But there's so much more power in actually taking the time to write it down. Two ways you could do this. The first one is just literally just sitting down, whether with a piece of paper or on the computer and just writing down literally a little summary of the last year. Or a nice little prompt that you could do is doing what went well, what didn't go well, and what were some main events or things that happened in the year. Something that I like to do is also kind of sprinkle in some pop culture things to just remember the year by, because I feel for example, this year I'll write down Taylor Swift Eras Tour, even though I'm unfortunately not going. I'm so sad that I was not able to make it to the Vancouver show. Just her touring this year, I feel was very notable for the year. So even just writing down little celebrity moments or little pop culture things, I feel that's always fun to sprinkle into your reflection. The third thing, this is a question that I want all girlies, especially those that are type B, that have ADHD, to ask themselves. Do you really need to buy a paper planner? Honestly, I'm probably too late in asking you this because you probably already impulse bought one. But if you haven't yet, I know that you're going to see them at the store. You're going to see them advertised. They're going to be linked on influencer stories. And I just want to ask yourself if you're actually going to use it. Because what I do with a paper planner is I will get one. It is so beautiful. I love writing in it. It feels so satisfying for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Then what happens is I close the paper planner. I forget everything that I wrote down in it. I ended up leaving it somewhere in a drawer, and then I forget that it's in there. And then in 2 months, I open that drawer and I'm like, oh my gosh, my paper planner. I pull it out and I then feel guilty that I've wasted the pages that are unusable now because it's been 2 months. So for myself personally, it's a personal choice to just say that it's a hard rule in my life that I do not buy a paper planner because it does not help me. It in fact makes my life more hard. So ask yourself that question this week. Do I need a paper planner? Alternatives. My alternative that I use is Google Calendar and Notion. Those are the two things that keep my life together. Highly recommend. little check-in. If you really must buy a paper planner, also recommend getting an undated one, because then you don't feel guilty when you stop using it inevitably for 2 weeks, 2 months. Number 4, take the time to learn how to use Notion. Often during this time of year, you have more free available time, especially in the time between like New Year or between Christmas and New Year's. So to setting down and actually like setting up Notion, if you already use Notion, sitting down and like refreshing Notion, learning how to use some of the new features. Notion really does keep my life together, and I love being able to like have so many different lists, so many different things going on all within one app, and it's very like organized, disorganized, because it's me. So like there's definitely some areas in there that are just disorganized, but I can have it all together so it feels more organized, and it's definitely more organized than me having 20 notebooks. Notion has really taken me from having 20 notebooks to having everything all in one spot. Number 5 is to spend so much time on Pinterest. Reset your life by going on Pinterest and making different boards for different areas of your life. I like to just make one, like I'll make one board for like 2025, and then I'll have different, like I'll use the sections feature and have different sections. So I'll have like mom life, I'll have like business, I'll have the podcast, I'll have like all the different things all in one, and I will just spend hours pinning to each of those sections. There's just like something so satisfying about doing this. It helps me. I like to do this honestly before I do my goals, because I feel like seeing the visual images and stuff like can help me determine like what the wording I want to put to the goals. Number 6, going right along with this, is having a vision board night. Set this in the calendar with some friends and do this together. I do think that it's very, like for me, I very much like to be very intentional about the photos that I put on my vision board. I like to use Pinterest, and I also like to use my own photos. That's a little hot tip for you, is using your own photos on your vision board, because I feel like being able to see that like there are already aspects of our life that are like our dream life is really important. So if you have like some cute aesthetic photos that you've taken over the last year, I highly recommend adding those into your vision board. I feel like it really helps with just feeling grateful for the things that you already have, for knowing that you are already living aspects of your dream life in the day-to-day, everyday, simple life that you're living right now. So because of that, I do like suggest just planning ahead, picking that date, and then making sure that like if people want to source their own photos and stuff, that you're able to do that in advance, because sometimes with magazines, I just feel like it's harder to find the exact photos that represent what you want. Definitely still fun. Like I like to have still a couple of magazines to like do titles with, or like cut words out of or whatever. It's still it's fun. But I also like to be able to print my own photos from Pinterest. So make sure you plan that in advance. Number 7 is looking forward to 2025 and actually setting some goals. So one way that I like to do this is by making myself like a giant list of all of the things that I want to be my goals. I am someone who I don't really have a realistic view of the things that I can accomplish in a certain amount of time. So I will make lists and goals for myself that are quite unrealistic sometimes. So what I like to do is just like, I like to sit down, I like to write out literally every single thing that I want to do. So sometimes I'll have like 50 goals of like things that I want to work on. Obviously not all of them are like massive, but like 50 things that I would love to do in the next year. From that list, then I will kind of like break it down into like either different categories, or like, okay, I want to do all these things, but like this is my main goal. So allowing yourself the freedom to like set lots of goals and then kind of like narrowing it down. I want you to make sure that you are like writing those out somewhere, whether that's in your journal or on Notion or something. And then I really, really encourage you to like print them out so that you can see them, whether that is on like a pegboard or like on your vision board, or whether that is like actually just printing out a piece of paper and putting it in a frame. Print them out so you can see it, so you can reference them throughout the year. Number 8, something that I've been seeing people do, and I just kind of started experimenting with a couple of days ago, is putting your goals and kind of like your goals and like what you want in your life into ChatGPT, and then letting it write a dream day for you. And I feel like this is such a cool concept. Also something that I feel like is very like cool to print out or have saved somewhere where you can see it often and be like, okay, this is what like I'm working towards. This is what I want my dream life to be like. Again, looking to see like, are there aspects of my life that are already like this? And just focusing on that. But definitely experiment with the ChatGPT prompts. I will try to maybe link one of the TikToks or the other YouTube videos that talks about it. I don't have any, like, I haven't made any videos on it yet, but I will see if I can link one of those because that was really cool. And I feel like that's a cool way to look ahead to the next year. Number 9 is investing in visual reminders. If you are like me and you are type B, ADHD, a little bit of a hot mess, I strongly encourage you to have some type of visual reminders in your life. For me, some examples of visual reminders that I've invested in, I have calendar whiteboards. I have 12 of them, one for each year of the month for our business, so I can see a year at a glance. I have a whiteboard in our kitchen that's a calendar that shows like our calendar for the upcoming year. I have my vision board and my goals all printed out physically. I have my morning routines printed out physically. So like, think about ways that you can incorporate visual reminders into your life for 2025. And maybe try experimenting with that. Maybe that's ordering a whiteboard for your kitchen, so you have like kind of like a go-to space to write down your like grocery list or like what's happening in the week. But thinking about like, okay, is there any ways that I can incorporate better visual reminders for myself so that I can stay on track and keep pressing forward with my goal? Number 10 is going off social media for at least 2 to 7 days. Okay. I should have started with this one, but I do think that this is such a unique time of year where a lot of people are resting, relaxing, and I feel like the temptation to just scroll way more than you normally do is really strong because you're like, I'm off work, I'm at home, I'm chilling, everyone's relaxing, we're like still eating like Christmas cookies and chilling. What has been so powerful for me is the years when I'm able to fully delete Instagram, TikTok, like to actually delete the app off of my phone and go at least 48 hours without social media. What will happen? This is what happens for me. The first 24 hours, I kind of am like, feel like I'm missing out. I feel like I'm not going to see people's stories. The stories are going to expire before I see them. I like will go on my phone and I'll ghost, like click on like Instagram or TikTok because they're like not there. I'll like open it. That'll be like the first thing my thumb goes to. So that for the first 24 hours, it feels kind of like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm missing out. Once you hit the like 36-hour mark or the 2 days, then I'm like, this is so peaceful. I feel like I can feel my hear my own thoughts again. Like, and then I end up usually going to the 7 days and going like about a week without social media. So I definitely encourage that. I feel like it's also because you're like working on like resetting and focusing for the new year and trying to reflect on the next year. It's a really cool time to be able to have kind of some extra headspace and also to be thinking about the goals and the dreams that you actually want, not just like copying and pasting what other people are doing on social media. So that's my little plug for doing a social media free day or two. Number 11 is going through your digital life. And so this is a huge category. I feel like this is honestly something that doesn't get talked about enough on the internet because this is something that keeps me up at night and makes me feel freaked out, is just like the digital world and how many things I have in the digital world because it's like real but not real. Because I'm a like wedding photographer, I have like just so many photos, ones that aren't even mine. And then I also just obviously take so many photos and stuff. So thinking about that and how like, okay, I need to be really a lot better at like being diligent about organizing things because I don't want to spend like the thought of like that I'm probably going to have millions of photos one day to go through kind of terrifies me. So I want to be better at going through, picking out like my favorite photos and like putting them into folders. So the 3 or 4 different areas that I thought that you could go through for your digital space to reset are your computer. So like organizing, going through like your desktop, going through your downloads, removing any apps that you don't need, like your actual physical computer. Obviously your phone, going through your camera roll, going through your contacts, deleting old contacts, deleting old notes, making sure that you are like don't have a bunch of apps on there that you're like not using. With the apps being on your phone, I'm pretty sure they can also still have like rights to your data and stuff if they're on there. So like don't leave them on there if you don't even need them. And then your email and your social media, I highly recommend the platform Unroll Me from for your email subscriptions. It helps you like unsubscribe and shows you how many different people you're subscribed to. Definitely recommend that for your email. Lastly, the fourth one would be like your social media account. So going through who you're following. If you're following like a bunch of influencers, but you don't actually really like follow any of them, you just like are following them, but you never see their posts. If you don't really actually like following them, unfollow them, go through your highlights or like things that you have posted and just like do a little cleanup on there. Number 12 of things you can reset is going through and updating your budget. Do a little check-in with like, okay, where are you at financially? Where do you want to be? What's going on with your finances and how can we make them better for 2025? Number 13 is taking the time to create your ideal day. So what do your ideal, for me, I focus on morning routines and evening routines. What do my ideal mornings and evenings look like? And I use the concept of a morning menu. I've talked about that in a previous video, but basically it is giving yourself many different ideas and like things that you can do in the morning based on your energy level. So rather than having a very rigid morning routine that you copy every single day, which inevitably you probably will not be able to follow every single day, having open options for different things that you can do in the morning. Same thing for the evening. So taking the time, doing that, writing down some routines, printing them out, all about those visual reminders, and deciding what you want that to look like for you in the upcoming year. Number 14 is something that I feel like is quite often overlooked, and that is deciding when you want to check in with yourself. So what can happen, as we know, is people will set these big dreams, goals, aspirations for the upcoming year, and then they just forget about them. And they just give up on them. They're like, oh, whatever. That was a good concept. I liked the planning of it, but I don't actually they kind of forget about it. I feel like 2 ways that we can avoid this are, first of all, having visual reminders, being able to see our goals regularly. And the second thing is having intentional check-in points. So this, I think, is going to look different for everyone depending on your stage of life, how much free time that you have, and also just like how your brain functions. I feel like some natural check-in points are kind of like as the seasons are changing. So for me, doing like one check-in in the spring, one check-in as the spring's kind of turning to summer, and then one check-in at the fall, and then obviously the New Year's check-in. So that's technically like once a quarter, not like the proper business quarters, but that's 4 times a year, checking in, see how things are going. Obviously, if you have the time and freedom to like ramp that up and be like, maybe you want to check in monthly with yourself on your goals, that's great. If you have the capacity for that, just whatever you want that to be, I highly encourage you to like actually write that down somewhere. So for me, as we've talked about, I'm a Google Calendar girly. So I want to put that in my calendar, in my Google Calendar, to remind me, like, you know, probably in March, I'm going to want to have a check-in. It's going to start to like, winter is going to fade. It's going to start to be spring. So I'm going to want to have a check-in in March. I'm going to want to have a check-in in May, and I'm going to want to have a check-in in the end of August. And those are like my baseline check-in. It's going to send me a reminder. I'm going to set it to set me a reminder like 2 weeks before, a couple days before. So it's like continually reminding me like, okay, we got to have a check-in. Number 15 goes out to my chronic workaholics, girls who have very high expectations for themselves, feel like every single thing they need to do has to be productive. I really want to encourage you to schedule intentional rest into your 2025. So I think that it's very important. I strongly believe that we are not created to just work at all times and to be productive at all times. I know that it goes against my natural tendency, because my natural tendency is to feel like every single thing I'm doing should be productive. But I know that when I get in that mindset and when I feel like I need to be working all the time and hustling all the time, it only leads to burnout. And I believe we were created that way because we are supposed to rest, and we need rest in order to show up for ourselves, for our family, for just the world. And I think that if we don't, in our current world, if we do not schedule rest, if we don't intentionally carve it out, it will get taken from us, and we will just allow other things to kind of overtake it. So this can look different. This obviously is going to look different for everyone. I try, like, my rest is to try to have 1 day a week where I am intentionally resting and not working. And then I also like to try to do some type of like retreat, rest, break, like once of every maybe once or twice a year. So doing some type of like vacation, holiday where I'm like unplugged, not working, truly resting, hopefully being outside, being in nature, like actually resting. And so I want you to think about that as you're making your goals and like try to map out your like dream schedule and stuff like that, like how can you incorporate rest into your life? How maybe that looks like just having one day a week where you're like, I'm unplugging, I'm not going to be on social media or like on my phone this night, and it is just going to be, I'm going to be at home, I'm going to rest, I'm going to relax. But definitely encourage you to try to incorporate some type of rest and not just focus on hustling all the time. Number 16 is asking a friend to be your accountability partner. So I think it's so powerful when we are able to do life together, do life in community, and especially like with goals and dreams and aspirations, being able to bring people together and have someone that's holding you accountable and like checking in with you can be so helpful. So if you have a friend who's also like into productivity and wellness and like likes to set goals and be intentional about things, you can even send them this video and be like, hey, like let's do this together. Let's reset for the new year together, and let's check in with one another as the year goes on. Maybe that looks like meeting up for coffee once a week or once a month, and just checking in with how you guys are doing with your goals and how you're doing. Number 17 is downloading a time tracking app. When I first discovered that you could have a time tracking app like on your computer or on your phone, it helped me so much because I'm definitely someone who is a little bit time blind. And so being able to have a visual like reminder of how time is passing, and then also to see how much time I'm spending on certain things is very helpful. When I was navigating, figuring out like childcare and running my business and stuff, I was using a time tracking app, and that was really helpful for me to determine like, okay, how many hours a week do I actually need to work in order to sustain my business and still be a good mom and still be able to like show up for my family. And being able to see those numbers and actually figure out like, okay, this is how much time I'm spending on certain tasks can give you a lot of insight on how you're spending your time and what little adjustments you need to make. Lastly is going through your physical space and finding one box of stuff that you can take to the thrift store. So maybe this is your clothes, maybe this is your like baking stuff, maybe this is your toiletries. Find one box of stuff, declutter your space, make your home a little haven for yourself. And this is definitely one of the areas that I struggle the most with because I love like hobbies and crafty things, and I love thrifting. So this was my biggest struggle area, is keeping my space clean. But I'm also doing this for 2025, is resetting the space. But this is something that I'm also working for 2025, is resetting my space and making sure that my home is clean and a space that I really want to be and feel good in. So I hope this episode inspired you to start your 2025 really, really well. We'll see you back on the podcast next week. Hope you all have a wonderful week ahead. Love you guys so much. Bye.